of others and can store these observations symbolically for future use and regulate our behavior through self-administered rewards and punishments. So you can actually learn what has worked better and what has not worked as well historically in your life and the life of other people that you observe, and you can alter and affect your behavior accordingly. So, we talked about this when we talked about Piaget stages, about how people, can kind of self-monitor themselves and their own behavior, and you can, you don't have to learn everything by trial and error. You can learn hypothetical possibilities and things that you can work out in your head, and you can watch what happens to big brother and big sister when they come home late, and you can learn very quickly for yourself that you don't want to come home late yourself, because the same thing will probably happen to you. You just learned vicariously that coming home late will end up with a punishment. And so you aren't going to come home late. You're going to come home on time because you don't want to face the same consequences that your brother did or your sister did. Rewards and punishers serve as motivators because they lead to the development of expectancies, or expectations, I should probably say, that particular responses will cause particular outcomes. Excuse me. No, I don't have coronavirus. Excuse me. Modeling processes, attention, retention, and reproduction. These are basically the three necessities that are required for modeling to occur, for modeling to stick. For someone to teach you how to do something, you have to apply all three of these processes. Attention. Before we can profit from the behavior of others, we must first attend to their behavior. We will observe and imitate models with whom we are in frequent contact more than those we see less frequently. So, in other words, your friends, when you're a teenager, are going to have a much more profound impact on you than your I don't know, someone you don't see as often, but the people you come in contact with regularly are going to influence you a great deal. But in order to learn from those people, learn the appropriate or the inappropriate way to respond to a particular behavior, you have to first pay attention. You have to first watch what they do, how they do it, and kind of be able to not only remember what they did, but you have to actually be able to understand what they're talking about and understand what they're doing in the first place. Otherwise, nothing else will happen. The second form is retention. Once we have observed a behavior, we must still incorporate it into some form of memorable form. When trying to remember and observe behavior, we remember both a series of verbal instructions and an image of the behavior. So someone talking to you and someone showing you how to do something is a very, very effective way of learning how to do something. Someone showing you and kind of guiding their steps, why they do what they do, the order of the steps. Some things have to be done in a particular order. You want to make a cake, for example. There's certain things that you have to do in a particular order, and you've got to watch that, and you've got to pay attention to the order that things are done. You can't just drop eggs in a bowl and then bake it and then take it out and add the flour. You can't do it that way, or it won't turn out right. So there's a procedure, and someone showing you that procedure, and someone illustrating that this is why this has to be done, and explaining it from that point of view, really, really aids your ability to retain what it is and the steps necessary for you to be able to reproduce it yourself. And finally, we have reproduction. Even though we have observed and symbolically stored a behavior, we can imitate it only if we can string together the correct pattern of responses. Normally, our responses are rough approximations of the observed behavior, which we then refine as a result of information feedback we receive about the consequences of the observed behavior itself. So, you've attended, you've paid attention, you've watched what they've done, you've remembered the order, the sequence, whatever. Now you go and you have to try it yourself. You have to apply what you've learned. You have to you have to take all the ingredients yourself and make your own cake. And hopefully, if you've paid attention and you've remembered the steps and the order and the procedure of what needs to be done, and you followed that, your cake should be pretty similar to the cake that you watched. Follow a recipe, follow the instructions, whatever, then you should be pretty good to go, and you should be able to reproduce that again. Now, the first time you do it, you might not be as successful, but again, with practice and repeated pairings, you're going to get pretty darn close with almost anything. Practice, again, makes perfect. The more you're going to imitate that, the more you're going to solidify and cement that into your minds, and your ability to reproduce that modeled behavior will increase and therefore be much more successful down the line. Vicarious reinforcement, we've kind of talked about a little bit. If we see a model being reinforced for a particular behavior, we too are likely to perform that behavior. So you don't have to be reinforced yourself. You can watch someone else be reinforced and imitate that behavior because you are seeking the reinforcement that they got for yourself. On the other hand, if we observe the model being punished for a particular behavior, we will be less likely to perform that behavior. These situations are called vicarious reinforcement situations because we alter our behavior as a result of observing that particular consequence in the model. So again, whether it's good or bad, we can alter our behavior based on the reinforcements or the punishments that happen to someone else. And we can internalize that the fact that, it happened to this guy, it will probably also happen to me as long as we are in the same environment and the same situation. One main effect of observing model behavior is to strengthen or weaken inhibitions related to particular behaviors. So if someone in authority, there's a very good experiment out there, the Stanley Milgram experiment. Go check it out on YouTube or Wikipedia or whatever. But if someone in authority or someone that we trust or someone that we look up to tells us that it's okay to do something, even though we might have our own reservations about that, and we might think, "Are you really sure this is okay if I do this?" And they say, "Oh yeah, we do it all the time." It's then you're going to be, that first time you do it, you might kind of have a little bit of reservation, but if you do it and nothing bad ever happens, then think about how much easier it would be to do it the second time, and the third time, and the fourth time. And these tend to really apply to behaviors that you might not do otherwise. If you're in a crowd and a lot of people are doing something that might be bad, that you might not do otherwise, that you would never consider doing. But if you're in a crowd that's doing that behavior, and especially if it's a crowd that you want to be accepted into, you might drop or at least release a few of your inhibitions and perform that behavior yourself. A lot of fraternity and sorority hazing scenarios would fall into this category where you might never do those things unless you were pressured by some outside force. So watching someone do this, and especially if it's someone that you admire or you look up to, that they can shift your behavior on either side of that spectrum. They can drive you to do good and to learn new skills, new experiences, whatever, or they can send you the other way as well. Vicarious reinforcement is important because it may disinhibit motivated behaviors that are normally kept in check. Again, this is kind of what I was just talking about, that something that you might never do on your own, if you are pushed or you are shown that this is an acceptable form of behavior in this situation by someone that you admire or a group that you look up to, you will be more likely to do that behavior even though you would never have done it outside of the influence of that person or group. Observation of model behavior may also serve to check behaviors that an individual will be inclined to perform otherwise. So this can also go in the other direction. If you're in a group that would never do something that you would do regularly, then you might not do that behavior. It's kind of the whole when in Rome scenario. If you're a drinker and you go over to visit your teetotaling in-laws, you probably wouldn't drink for that meal. that's just respectful or whatever. But again, being able to decide which behaviors are acceptable and which behaviors are not, which behaviors will end up being reinforced and which behaviors will end up being punished, which behaviors will be accepted by the group or the model, and which behaviors will be admonished is a pretty effective social skill. The more successful you are, the more successful you are at picking good models and picking people who will lead you down the right path. The more successful you will be in life in general. That's it. That is the learning chapter. So hopefully I can get this up here in the next day or so. And again, if you have any questions, or any of this was unclear, I tried to make it as relevant and clear as I possibly could. But again, without y'all's interaction, doing it through this camera is not ideal at all. So please shoot me an email. Let me know. I check into the chat every once in a while. I don't do it every Tuesday and Thursday because I don't think you guys really need that. But yeah, you can always send me an email, and I do pop in there from time to time. So you guys can discuss this amongst yourselves. My involvement in this chapter is done. So if you have any questions or something wasn't clear, whatever, please shoot me an email. There's no other way for me to get this information to you. We don't meet anymore. There's no interaction. I don't like doing these videos, but this is what we got. So let me know if I can help clarify or explain, or if you need anything further with either one of these chapters. There's going to be one more chapter, the antisocial and prosocial behavior chapter, that will be for your second exam. The notes have been posted, the videos have been posted. Again, make sure that you watch all the videos for this second exam stuff. Anyway, stay safe out there, please. Stay home unless you absolutely have to get out. This might get a lot worse before it gets better. But it's something that we all have to endure and have to deal with. Unfortunately, this is just a kind of a thing of modern times. But please stay safe. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you later. All right.